Hey there, book lovers and self-improvement enthusiasts. You're listening to the WizBooks podcast. Get ready to dive deep, learn something new, and walk away inspired. Let's jump into today's episode and uncover ideas that can impact your life. We're diving deep into Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, a book that's captivated millions with its insights on achieving a state of presence and inner peace.
It's interesting how the power of now goes beyond typical self-help by challenging us to completely rethink our relationship with our minds. It's more about a fundamental shift in perspective rather than just offering quick fixes.
It definitely feels more profound than a typical self-help book. It seems like Tolle's own journey plays a huge role in shaping the book's message.
Absolutely. Before becoming a spiritual teacher, Tolle faced years of crippling anxiety and depression. He describes this period as a dark night of the soul. It was through this intense suffering that he had a powerful awakening, realizing that he was not his unhappy thoughts and emotions, but something much deeper.
That's a pretty powerful realization to come from such a difficult experience. It sounds like hitting rock bottom led to a breakthrough.
You could say that. His transformation was radical. He went from feeling completely lost and hopeless to experiencing a profound sense of peace and presence. That experience became the foundation of his teachings.
So how does that personal transformation translate into the core message of the power of now?
Well, Tolle argues that the human mind itself, with its constant stream of thoughts, is the root of our suffering. It's like we're trapped in a mental movie replaying the past and worrying about the future, and we completely miss out on the only moment that truly exists now.
It's so true. We get caught up in worrying about things that haven't happened or dwelling on things we can't change.
Exactly. And we create this illusion of separateness from ourselves and the world around us. This mind identification is what Tolle calls the ego, and it's like a disease where the mind takes over the user.
So if our minds are the problem, how do we escape this trap?
Tolle's answer is deceptively simple: by becoming present. He says that time as we usually experience it is actually a mental construct. We're so preoccupied with the past and future that we miss the richness of life as it unfolds in this very moment. You could say we're constantly chasing shadows.
Okay, so how do we shift from being stuck in our heads to becoming present? It sounds like a big leap.
It is, and it's a continual practice, not a one-time fix. Tolle suggests we can dissolve psychological time by cultivating present moment awareness. It's about shifting our focus from the mental chatter to the stillness and presence that lie beneath. Imagine becoming the watcher of your thoughts and emotions rather than getting swept away by them.
Instead of being lost in thought, you step back and observe. It's like creating space for awareness to grow.
Precisely. The more we practice this, the more we create gaps in that constant mental stream. Those gaps, those moments of stillness, are where the magic happens.
Those gaps sound incredibly peaceful.
They are. And within that peace, the light of consciousness grows stronger.
It sounds like the book is guiding us toward a state of enlightenment. What exactly does enlightenment mean, according to Tolle?
He defines enlightenment quite simply: the end of suffering. And that suffering ends when we stop being enslaved to our incessant thinking. It's about reclaiming our true nature, which is already whole and complete right here, right now.
It's an intriguing definition, not some lofty, unattainable state, but a natural byproduct of not suffering.
Exactly. And to reach that state, we need to disidentify from the mind, meaning you no longer equate thinking with being. This challenges many traditional spiritual paths that advocate for denying or fighting the body.
So Tolle is saying that the body is crucial to this journey, that we shouldn't try to transcend the physical.
Exactly. He argues that transformation happens through the body, not by separating from it. You see, by being fully present in the body, we can access a deeper level of consciousness and connect with the divine within.
That makes sense when you consider that so much of our mental chatter revolves around things we want to change about our bodies or how we feel physically.
That's where Tolle diverges from some traditional thinking. He's saying anchor yourself in the body. Experience the fullness of the present moment through your body. Feel your breath, the sensations of your feet on the ground, and the aliveness within you.
It sounds like a kind of mindfulness practice where we tune into our physical experience. It's not about emptying the mind, but about being present in the body.
Exactly. It's about using the body as a portal to a deeper level of consciousness. And that leads us to one of the central themes of the power of now, the power of surrender.
Surrender can be a tough concept for many of us. What does Tolle mean by that?
He's talking about letting go of that constant need to control, to force things to be a certain way. It's about accepting what is even the challenging situations, because that acceptance opens the door to transcending suffering and finding peace.
So it's not passive resignation, but a conscious choice to allow life to unfold in its own way.
Yes, it's about trusting the intelligence of life itself. And when you truly surrender, you open yourself up to the transformative power of what is, you stop fighting and start flowing.
This resonates with me personally. I know I often create my own suffering by resisting situations, instead accepting them and looking for the opportunity within the challenge.
It's a common human experience. We think we know best, but often life has a much grander plan if we can just get out of our own way. Welcome back to our deep dive into the power of now. We were just discussing the pain body and the transformative power of non-judgment and acceptance.
It's a powerful concept, and I'm still thinking about how it shows up in my own life.
Yeah.
I know we touched on relationships briefly earlier, but I'd love to explore that a bit more.
Relationships, especially romantic ones, are a fascinating area to apply Tolle's teachings.
They can be such a breeding ground for ego clashes and those unresolved emotions we were just talking about.
Absolutely. Tolle sees relationships as powerful mirrors, reflecting back to us our own patterns, beliefs, and those unhealed wounds that make up the pain body.
So he's saying that relationships can be catalysts for profound spiritual growth.
Exactly. They offer incredible opportunities to confront our ego, practice forgiveness, and deepen our capacity for love. They challenge us to show up authentically and practice all those principles we've been discussing: presence, acceptance, and non-judgment.
I can see how that would be true. Relationships can bring up so much stuff. But how do we navigate those challenges in a way that's aligned with Tolle's teachings?
He emphasizes the importance of bringing awareness and presence into our interactions. Instead of reacting unconsciously, we can choose to respond with intention. This means communicating our needs clearly, setting healthy boundaries, and practicing empathy.
It's about treating ourselves and our partners with respect and compassion, even when things get tough.
Precisely. And it's in this space of awareness and compassion that true intimacy can blossom. When we can be present with each other's joys and sorrows, vulnerabilities and strengths, that's when we create truly fulfilling connections.
It makes you realize how often we bring our past baggage and unresolved issues into our relationships.
It's inevitable. But when we can recognize those patterns and make conscious choices, we have the power to heal ourselves and our relationships.
Now, Tolle also talks about recognizing the shared essence in each other, seeing beyond the personality and the ego to the divine spark that exists within every being.
That's the key to transforming relationships from sources of conflict to sources of love. When we connect at that level, we experience a profound sense of unity. It's like recognizing ourselves in the other.
And that recognition can be so healing, both for ourselves and our partners.
It is. It helps us to move beyond the ego's need for separation and control to experience true love and connection.
Now, one of the things that fascinates me about Tolle's teachings is how they apply to everyday life. For example, the concept of the pain body. How does that show up in our daily interactions?
The pain body can manifest in subtle and not so subtle ways. You might notice it in those moments when you react disproportionately to a situation. Maybe someone cuts you off in traffic and you find yourself filled with rage.
Oh, I've definitely been there. It's like the smallest thing can trigger an explosion of anger.
That's the pain body looking for an outlet. It feeds on negativity and drama. Or you might notice it in patterns of self-sabotage, those times when you hold yourself back from pursuing your dreams or going after what you truly want.
That feeling of not being good enough or worthy enough, I think we all struggle with that to some degree.
It's a common manifestation of the pain body. It wants to keep you small to prevent you from shining your light.
So what can we do when we recognize those patterns?
Yeah.
How do we interrupt the cycle of negativity?
The first step, as always, is awareness. Notice those patterns without judgment. Then bring your attention to the present moment. Feel your breath. Feel your feet on the ground. This helps to ground you and create some space between you and the pain body.
It's about disrupting that automatic reaction, that knee-jerk response that comes from the pain body.
Exactly. And then you can choose a different response. Instead of lashing out in anger, you can take a deep breath and ask yourself, what's really going on here? Instead of giving in to self-doubt, you can affirm your worthiness and take a step towards your dreams.
It sounds like it's all about making conscious choices, rather than letting our past conditioning dictate our actions.
Precisely. And the more we practice present moment awareness, the easier it becomes to make those conscious choices. We start to create new neural pathways, new habits of being.
And that leads to greater peace, joy, and fulfillment in all areas of our lives.
It does, because ultimately the power of now is about waking up to the truth of who we are, beyond the pain body, beyond the ego, beyond the limitations of our minds. It's about remembering that we are already whole and complete, and that we have the power to create a life filled with love, joy, and purpose.
That's such an empowering message. And it's a reminder that the journey to enlightenment is not about becoming someone else, but about rediscovering who we truly are.
Exactly. And it's a journey that's available to each and every one of us. It starts with the simple act of choosing to be present in this very moment.
Now, Tolle also talks about the importance of forgiveness as a key to living in the now.
Hmm.
What role does forgiveness play in his teachings?
Forgiveness is essential for releasing the past and freeing ourselves from the burden of resentment. Holding on to anger and resentment only keeps us trapped in suffering. It's like carrying a heavy backpack full of rocks wherever you go.
It weighs us down, preventing us from experiencing lightness and joy. I know I've felt that heaviness before when I've held on to anger or resentment.
We all have, and Tolle invites us to lay down this burden through forgiveness. But it's important to remember that forgiveness doesn't mean condoning or forgetting what happened.
It's not about saying what happened was okay. It's about choosing to see the situation and the people involved, including ourselves, with compassion and understanding.
Precisely. It's about releasing the emotional charge associated with the past, acknowledging the pain, but choosing to move forward without bitterness or blame.
It's a process that can take time and effort. It's not always easy to let go of old hurts, especially if they've been festering for a long time. But forgiveness is ultimately about freeing ourselves.
You got it. It's about reclaiming our inner peace and creating space for healing and growth.
Now, we often think of forgiveness in the context of our relationships with others, but Tolle also emphasized the importance of self-forgiveness, right?
Absolutely. It's crucial to forgive ourselves for past mistakes and shortcomings. We can be our own harshest critics, constantly replaying past blunders and berating ourselves for not being perfect.
That inner critic can be brutal. It's like having a judge and jury constantly scrutinizing our every move.
And holding on to self-blame and guilt only creates more suffering. It keeps us stuck in the past and prevents us from moving forward with confidence and self-love.
So how do we cultivate this self-forgiveness? It feels like such a difficult thing to do.
Tolle encourages us to practice self-compassion, to recognize that we are all human, that we all make mistakes, and that our imperfections are part of what makes us unique.
It's about offering ourselves the same kindness and understanding that we would offer a loved one. We wouldn't berate a friend for making a mistake, so why do we do it to ourselves?
Exactly. And remember, the past is gone. We can't change it. But we can choose to learn from our mistakes and move forward with greater wisdom and self-awareness.
So self-forgiveness is really about letting go of the past and embracing the present moment with a renewed sense of self-acceptance and compassion.
Precisely. It's about recognizing our inherent worthiness and allowing ourselves to be fully human.
It's like nature has this incredible ability to ground us in the present moment and remind us of the interconnectedness of all things.
Exactly. And it doesn't require grand expeditions into the wilderness. Simply spending time in your backyard, walking in a park, or even noticing the trees lining your street can have a profound effect.
It's about cultivating that sense of awe and wonder, that appreciation for the beauty and complexity of the natural world.
Precisely. And when we connect with nature in that way, we're connecting with a part of ourselves that's often forgotten in the midst of our busy lives.
Yeah.
We tap into a source of peace and vitality that can nourish our souls.
Now, one of the recurring themes in The Power of Now is the idea that our true nature is not something we need to achieve or attain, but rather something that's already present within us.
It's like a diamond buried beneath layers of dirt and debris. The journey of awakening is about uncovering that diamond, removing the obstacles that obscure its brilliance.
And those obstacles are often our own thoughts, beliefs, and patterns of behavior.
Exactly. We get so caught up in the drama of our lives, the stories we tell ourselves, the roles we play, that we forget who we truly are. We lose sight of that inner diamond.
So how do we go about uncovering that diamond? How do we reconnect with our true nature?
It starts with becoming aware of those obstacles, those thought patterns and emotional reactions that keep us stuck in cycles of suffering. Tolle encourages us to practice self-observation, to become the witness of our thoughts and emotions without judgment.
It's like taking a step back from the movie of our minds and observing it with a sense of detachment.
Precisely.
Uh-huh.
And as we do this, we create space for a deeper awareness to emerge. We begin to glimpse our true nature, the stillness, the peace, the joy that lie beneath the surface.
And that's the essence of enlightenment, isn't it? Realizing who we already are rather than trying to become someone else.
Yeah. That's the heart of it. It's a process of remembering, of awakening to the truth of our being. And that truth is always available to us right here, right now, in this very moment.
It's about recognizing that we are not our thoughts, our emotions, or our circumstances, but something much vaster and more profound.
Exactly. We are pure consciousness, pure being, the awareness that's aware of itself.
Now, Tolle also talks about finding the sacred in the ordinary, recognizing the divine spark that exists in every moment and every experience.
Yeah.
It's not about seeking enlightenment in some far-off place or time, but about finding it right here, right now.
It's about appreciating the small things, the everyday miracles that we often take for granted, the warmth of the sun on our skin, the taste of a delicious meal, the laughter of a loved one. These are all expressions of the divine, if we're present enough to notice them.
It's about shifting our perspective, seeing the world through the lens of gratitude and wonder rather than the lens of lack and complaint.
Precisely. And when we're fully present, everything becomes sacred. Life becomes a continuous unfolding of wonder and grace.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in our deep dive into the powers now. We've explored Tolle's core ideas about the nature of the mind, the illusion of time, and the path to enlightenment.
We've seen how our thoughts create our reality, and becoming present is the key to unlocking true peace and joy.
We've talked about practical techniques for cultivating present moment awareness, such as focusing on our breath, becoming aware of our senses, and practicing non-judgment.
And we've explored the challenges of dealing with the pain body, that accumulation of unresolved emotional pain that can sabotage our happiness and well-being.
We've also discussed the transformative power of relationships and how they can serve as catalysts for spiritual growth and deeper connection.
And we've touched on the possibility of a collective awakening, a shift in consciousness that could create a more peaceful and harmonious world.
So what does this all mean for our listeners? How can they apply these ideas in their own lives?
The Power of Now offers a profound invitation to awaken to the truth of who we are, to shed the layers of conditioning and step into the fullness of our being. It's a call to action, to choose presence over distraction, peace over conflict, and joy over suffering.
It's a reminder that we have the power to create the life we want, and that the present moment is the only moment we truly have.
I encourage everyone listening to take what resonates with them from our discussion and to explore the power of now for themselves.
It's a book that can truly change your life if you're open to its message.
It's a journey worth taking.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this, subscribe, leave a review, and share. Until next time, keep reading, growing, and stay curious.